When you're out and about in the horticultural world, you're going to run across all sorts of different insects, but one of the ones that's most commonly identified, at least as recognizing it as an insect, is the larval form of butterflies and moths, which is the caterpillar. Now, not all caterpillars are equal. The idea of this talk is to give you an appreciation for how varied they are, and also give you a sense of what sort of terminology and what sort of characteristics you might use if you're going to identify those. So I'm going to start first with giving you a general idea of the structure. If you look at this diagram, caterpillars are soft and squishy and made up of a bunch of different segments broken into three distinct parts. The first is the head, which is a defined helmety type structure. It may have lots of other features. If you get up eyeball to eyeball, you'll be able to see with a magnifying glass or a microscope and be able to see some of these features, but probably not something you're going to do in your general everyday thing. But it's important to note that there are different sections there. The thorax is made up of three segments and contains three true legs, those front legs in the front. It may also have some other features you might use for identification if you're wanting that. And then the abdominal section is about 10 segments, which have a bunch of pairs of prolegs, these soft, squishy, grippy legs, including one on the back end. And there may be all sorts of other features that differentiate one caterpillar species from another. You might look at body color or all these other things, and those are the types of features that I want to talk about today. Not so that you're going to be able to zoom in on one, but you might just gain an appreciation for how varied they are, and also, again, have that terminology that you can use to recognize them. So the first one would be color. When you look at a caterpillar and you say, okay, well, what color is it? In this first sense, you're going to look at the body color. So what's the base layer color of that caterpillar? Is it red or purple or green or white or whatever? It might also have some type of different patterning. So is it camouflaged? Is it spotted? Is it slashed? Does it have those diagonal stripes that just kind of come in different things, different angles? Is it banded? Do the stripes run around the body rather than stripes where they're length of the body? And all of those different things can help you sort of narrow things down a little bit. Then when you get into, you look at, is it hairy or not? So does it have any absence of hair, or are the hairs inconspicuous? Or is it just a dense furry thing like a woolly bear caterpillar? Or is it got sparse hairs where it's got tufts of it here and there, or short dense pieces of hair here and there? Does it have hair at either end? You might zoom in on a little some of the other features. Does it have dorsal horn, or does it have a split tail, or are there knobs or lashes, meaning there's hairs at both ends but nothing in the middle? Does the head have horns on it? Are there spines? All these types of features you might look at a fairly macro level, fairly out there level. You don't have to zoom in really close to look at that. When you get right up close to the head, you might look, or even on the back, on the first segment of the thorax, there might be a prosthoracic shield or a plate that looks, there might be a different color. You could look at whether they're conspicuous or inconspicuous spiracles, these little pores on the edge of the caterpillar. If you looked at the prolegs themselves, they actually have little different grips, and that can help narrow things down. These are not things you're going to be definitely looking at yourself, but interesting to consider. You could look at the setae, which are hair-like sensory projections on the skin of the caterpillar, and these occur in, if you look really close, you can use them and how they're structured to differentiate between closely related species. They might be individual setae, or they might be in groups, either divergent or parallel. They might be as little pencils, or they might be little minute circular spines. If you're looking at the face, how are the mandibles structured? Are there different types of grooving in the face? All these things, again, as you zoom in, will give you ways to differentiate, but realistically you're going to be looking at body color, body patterning, body features, and then hair as a general rule. And then if you get really expert, you're going to zoom in on the other stuff. But it's important to note that not all caterpillars that you see are actually caterpillars. They may look like a caterpillar, but they aren't a true caterpillar or butterfly or moth larva. And this matters in terms of selecting control or management products. One of the quick rule of thumb to follow for identifying caterpillars versus not caterpillars is the number of prolegs. So those abdominal legs, caterpillars will have 3 to 5 pairs, and things like sawflies will have 6 or more, enough to spell out sawfly on the number of proleg pairs that they have. So that's just a quick rule of thumb, but just remember that not all caterpillars, or not all things that look like caterpillars, are actually caterpillars. The idea of this talk is to give you a sense of some of the different features that are present in caterpillars so you can identify them, and also to appreciate how varied they are.